Amazon's Rings of Power is proving once again that the fans were right in having second thoughts about this show, and all coming from the fact that this trailer that got released last week is not looking that good, and it didn't really inspire the fandom. It really didn't get most people excited. Hello everyone, welcome to my channel once again, and welcome to this video where we're going to discuss a little bit more of the Rings of Power and the trailer that got released last week. Now, Tolkien fans have been criticized for being quote-unquote toxic in the same way that Star Trek fans or Star Wars fans, and they have also been called every East and foe because the Amazon shills think that every Tolkien enthusiast that voices their opinion about this show is afraid of people of color or are racist and hate people of color, and believe that it's got nothing to do with that. Absolutely nothing about it. And if you actually think that, then maybe you should have your racism checked, because you might be the racist one, not the other way around. So, we're going to dive into what we could get from this trailer and also a little bit of what is happening right now in the Tolkien community. Let's dive into it. Now, there's no mistake that some of the landscapes look really good, and that is thanks to the fact that it was filmed in New Zealand. Yes, many things were filmed in other places, sure, but they were scouting for locations all over New Zealand, and we know how beautiful that was for Peter Jackson's Lord of the Rings trilogy. So, yes, some bits look beautiful. Yes, some of the CGI and the effects, they were improved. It looks interesting in that way, yes, but maybe I used the wrong word. It doesn't look interesting. It looks soulless, it looks spiritless, but nice. It's like just covering shite with a coat of gold or something like that. And of course it's going to look beautiful, but once you get close to it, once you touch it, you realize that it's just shite. Even though it's covered in gold, it's still shite. So how good is that if it's still crappy, you know? But apart from that, in reality, to me and many other fans out there, the trailer is uninspiring. And why is that, you may be asking? Well, the simple answer is this. The Rings of Power is a generic fantasy show. And let me repeat that one more time. It's a generic fantasy show. Why do I say this? Well, it's very simple. Because it's true, you know. This looks like a Game of Thrones spin-off. I mean, even House of Dragon looks similar to this thing. I mean, look at all of those Vanity Fair articles with them pictures, with Entertainment Weekly, Empire Magazine, all of those that have covered the Rings of Power. Look at the pictures that they have offered all through this year. And tell me, right straight up, that you do not see them as Game of Thrones characters, because they really do look like that. That's one of the things that fans have complained about. The wardrobe looks cheap, and one can't stop wondering, where did all those $2 billion go when making this thing? Now, somebody, I think it was European lore, I am not sure, but someone pointed out that in the case of Tarmiriel, who appears there in one of the trailers and in one of the pictures from, I think it was Entertainment Weekly, she has some undergarments, you know, below the armor, and if the armor looks cheap already, the printed pattern to resemble the armor, that it's like plated with scale mail, you know, it looks terrible. And that's one of the things that fans have been complaining about, that this thing looks generic, it looks cheap, and it doesn't stand out from any other piece of fantasy that we have had out there. In a similar fashion to what happened with the likes of Percy Jackson, or other fantasy quote-unquote great sagas that didn't do anything for anyone because they all tried to imitate Peter Jackson's Lord of the Rings trilogy or Harry Potter. The reality is that They are just too different. And every single work needs to have their own feeling and their own vibe. You look at this and tell me how it doesn't look similar, or why it looks similar to The Wheel of Time, for example, another Amazon Prime adaptation that also sucked terribly. One of the points that fans have mentioned in their criticisms is the presence of these Hobbit adjacent creatures. And I'm using the term Hobbit adjacent because that's more or less what Amazon tried to tell us when they said, well, they are Harfoots, but they are like these creatures. And, well, these creatures are not hobbits, like you know them, but they are their ancestors, like if they were Neanderthal hobbits or something like that. And we know that this is something we didn't like because, first and foremost, Tolkien didn't include hobbits in the Second Age retellings or in the Second Age things that we have so far. And again, people are going to point out, well, if he didn't mention it, then it is allowed. No, you dipshits. That's not how canon is supposed to work. What we want to see is an adaptation of Tolkien's work, not of what he never wrote. And if you remember that question that both Mackay and Payne were pondering when they were in the Variety interview, they said, can we come up with the greatest novel Tolkien ever wrote? And my answer is no, you can't. You look at the trailer itself, it says, based on the works by J.R.R. Tolkien. If you're going to base your project on someone else's work, at least have the decency to respect it and base it on what they wrote, not on what you want to write. For that, you have the freedom of creating your own IPs. But what is the situation here? What we always have. People wanting to insert their own agenda, their own ideas on an IP that has already an established fan base, and of course they can cash on that, they can profit from that. And you know what? It's a despicable business process. And it adds up to another thing that also we are criticizing, and that is that they are changing characters just too much. It's connected to what I just said, and the Amazon shields are telling you right to your faces all the time that you are an historiophobe because you don't like colored people, black people inside Tolkien's work, when there are more pressing matters than that. And of course, maybe you can address that, but just look at what they did to Galadriel, Elrond, Celebrimbor, Gil-galad, and you see that exchange that Galadriel and Elrond have, they look like children fighting to see who's got, the truth in their hand. Like, I have seen more. No, I think I have seen more. No, I have seen more, It sounded like Liz and Bart Simpson fighting at some point, And it's not something that, of course, it's not something that you would expect in a Tolkien work, but it's not something that Tolkien would have written himself. It feels as if they were just trying to empower the feminine figure for the sake of empowering her. And that's also another criticism. She did not need any empowering of the modern type that we have right now, emasculating the masculine figure to raise up the feminine one. But on top of that you have to change the character to an action figure, to an action character, and to have Galadriel lead this army or war band, I'm not really sure what it is, that go around hunting orcs. Well, I think that it's just too much. But if you still have this mind of, well, maybe we can give it a go, there are more changes to Galadriel's nature and personality that I, for one, do not find interesting or, worth our time. One of them is the now infamous Cheetos Inn, called so because many have pointed out how ridiculous this looks with Galadriel all in orange that seems to be covered in this Cheeto dust from the famous Cheeto snack, and many say that this is connected to the King's Lane, that maybe she took part in the King's Lane. And let me tell you that if that is true, it's a terrible, terrible mistake. because she never killed any of her king. But I propose, and it's just only a hypothesis of mine, that maybe this is the sinking of Numenor. Hence why she is telling Elrond, I have seen more than you have, you know? And that, considering that Elrond's brother chose to become mortal, a mortal man. And that's why he went to Numenor, while Elrond decided to be an elf, and that's why he's also called Elrond half elven, because he chose that path. They were given this option, and his brother chose to be with mortal men because he loved them, and he became the first ruler of Numenor. And from him comes all this long line of kings, that when the Lord of the Rings takes place, is ending there, right there with Aragorn. And his mission, of course, is also to continue spreading that line as well. So he never, Elrond, set foot in Numenor. And maybe what they are telling us is, well, Galadriel did, because she's all so powerful and yes, queen. Or of course, because she needs some incentive, I don't know, to go out there killing orcs with this warband of hers. Speaking of Numenor, also, we have there as well the character of Tar Miriel. Now, for those of you who are unfamiliar with Tolkien, let's just talk about it for a little bit, alright? According to the Rings of Power from Amazon, Tar Miriel is something of a general or something of a leader in the army. And according to the photographs that we had from EW, right? Entertainment Weekly, she is commanding them with this sort of armor that, by the way, many have pointed out looks dumb and cheap. That's the thing, that it looks cheap. It's this plated armor or scaled armor, more like. But in the trailer, we see sort of two moments of Tar Miriel. One is with that army that we mentioned and with this armor. And another one is like looking around while she's in Numenor and all that. And the character of Tar Miriel, in what Tolkien wrote, is this character that had the rightful possession of the throne. We can say it like that. We can call it that. And she was never ever in any army, and she never commanded any armies. The thing here with her is that Ar-Pharazôn, in his ambition, or because he wanted to go with the new ways that Sauron also helped instill in Numenor, well, he decided to drop the Tar prefix that was preferred by the old ways and all those that were still elf friends, and decided to go with the new one, Ar. That's why he's called Ar-Pharazôn, and Miriel is normally addressed as Tar Miriel because she wanted to keep with the old ways. And the situation here for many people, I am not talking about it myself because at this point, I don't think that I care anymore, is that she's been race swapped yet once more. And of course, the shills are out there saying, oh, well, if you don't like this change, it's just because you're a racist bastard. And I don't see really anyone feeling like they are angry because they are racist, only because they want the lore to be respected. And there in Numenor, we have also Galadriel, bringing this guy, Olbran. I think it's Olbran, I don't know, like the cereal. Anyways, it's this fellow that is supposed to be Sauron. So, for what the trailer has told us, I believe that the thing is going to go as follows. Galadriel helps Halbrand or Olbran, whatever, and together they travel to Numenor, and maybe some feelings arise in that couple. And she feels betrayed once she finds out that Halbrand is trying to create this cult, and we're going to talk about that later on, but in the original Tolkien works, we do have Sauron try to create this cult to Morgoth, to corrupt men. But the thing with Sauron is that he never traveled like that to Numenor. It was a different way in which he traveled to this part of the world. But, this is yet another example of what we are saying, that this is not really Tolkien or Tolkien based. I mean, the trailer also goes there, It goes exactly there, to the Last Jedi territory. Now, your mileage may vary, but I believe that going that way, going that route of the Last Jedi is just terrible. It's a big and huge mistake because it's just telling us exactly what everyone is fearing, that this is just going to be yet another bait and switch, another jab at the fans, another disappointment. And if you don't believe me, just take a look. I will let you listen to what they have to say in this little bit here.
The past is dead. We either move forward or we die with it.
Did you catch that? Tell me, really, that this is not a situation like The Last Jedi. Let the past die, kill it if you have to, or something like that. That was really very dumb that they mentioned. But it's really telling what they are trying to do here in this case with the Rings of Power. And they are trying to rewrite history, because Tolkien is problematic, because Tolkien is something that is outdated, but it has the potential to reflect our own world, our modern world, which is completely, in my opinion, pointless. This here, right here, this is not Sauron at all, right? This is not Sauron. Come on, I mean, you don't think that the Comet Man is Sauron returning to Middle-earth after the sinking of Numenor, do you now? I mean, it's evident what they are trying to do. It's evident that they are trying to rewrite history, and we are the ones that should not let them do it. And even if they were not trying to do that, they spent 2 billion on this series, and it looks cheap. It looks just terrible. I mean, there's really no quality that I can say, oh no, you look at the costumes and they are okay, or you look at the language and it's alright, or you look at the weapons or the armory and they are okay, they are nice. You look at this and tell me with a straight face, objectively, that it is a good quality product, or that even surpasses that work that Peter Jackson created. I mean, look at these hobbits, or no hobbits, Harfoots, right? That are hobbit adjacent. Look at that woman. Why does she walk like that? Is she having problems with the prosthetics or something? I mean, it's just pointless, completely pointless. And that's the thing with this. Who is this for? Who is this for? They are trying to give you hints here and there. The crossing of the Helcarax, the ships, the white ships, the swan ships, they are giving you Sauron, they are giving you Numenor, they are giving you Feanor's Oath, they are giving you Moria, they are giving you the Arkenstone. They are just giving you enough bits for you, the Tolkien enthusiast, the Tolkien fan, to say, oh, this is going to be alright, this is going to be cool, this is going to be okay. But in reality, they are giving you nothing. What they want is to draw the crowds, those normies, those that still remember 2001, from 2001 to 2003, that liked the movies but haven't read the books or don't give a crap about them. Those are the people that they want looking at this, watching this thing. And if we give in and if we watch this thing, then we are validating their efforts. We are supporting them and we are telling them it's okay. Now, I'm not telling you not to watch this because that's a personal decision. I am telling you that if you really care about companies adapting quality product and respecting the law, then don't watch this, because that's falling into their trap and you are following their game. Let them know that you disagree with them. Thank you for watching, everyone, and if you like this video, please remember liking, sharing and subscribing, and I hope to see you here the next time when we will be once again taking an analysis and taking, of course, shots at the Rings of Power, because we are fighting this war all together. Until next time, everyone.